أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. I thought it is a good idea to stop our studies on Fatiha, but these verses are interesting. So many times we hear that the Quran must be understood with any verse of the Quran must be understood within its context. I think everybody is familiar with this language. You cannot take it out of context. You have to put it into the context. Now, what we usually experience from this language, the context of the verse within its chapter or right? The paragraph. No, what verses preceding the verse we are studying are talking about, and what verses following the verse we are trying to understand, preceding the verses. So you cannot really take the verse that you want to understand out of its context, right? This is true, but it is partially true. But it doesn't solve the general problem. General problem is, how are we going to make this definition of the context of the speech of God? Where are we going to put it? Context of the speech of God. For example, we hear that, for example, just an example, Moses went into wilderness in the desert, and with his family, and they say, of course, this is an explanation. He didn't know where to go. It was called, okay, there are not such things in the Quran. And he was looking for guidance, which way he has to go, although he didn't know where he was going, because in the wilderness. He didn't have any state that he was going to go or a city that he intended to go. He just ran away from Egypt, went into the wilderness. And we see sometimes that some people say, he asked for guidance and he saw a light, okay? And the light is described in the Quran as guide or news. And not all of them. Some commentators say the Quran is talking about the guide from God where to go in wilderness. Does it make sense? God is speaking to a person who has lost his path. Although he didn't know where he's going, he didn't have a destination in mind. Some people, not all of them, to be honest. I was wondering, God will speak to a person who is going to be appointed as a prophet and convey the message of God to mankind, and he has lost his path in the wilderness, and God says, okay, take northeast or this way. What is he going to do? Going this way or another way? What is the point? Well, in the geographical direction, what is the point? That is why we have to understand what to expect from the Quran, so that we will define the context of the speech of God. What is the speech of God? For example, some people, not all of them, very rare though, some people say, وَوَجَدَكَ ضَالًّا فَهَدَى, very famous Duha, chapter Duha, that says, we have found you wandering around, didn't know where to go, guided you. They said, the Quran, look, speaks to Muhammad, alayhi salatu wassalam, and when he was a child, he got lost in Mecca. It's a very small village-like city, as we know the city is now. And God guided him to find his house. Do you think God will speak to a person who is going to appoint him as a prophet and convey the universal message, eternal message to mankind, talking about a child has lost his way in a small town, and showing him, take this way, turn right, and then you will find your house? Do you think God is going to speak about this? What do you think?
What do you mean by about this?
About guiding the child to find his house, like a GPS.
Would God mention it?
Yeah. Would God reveal revelation to a prophet about this subject? Say?
No.
Woman, you can go and ask anyone, say, hey, I'm a child, I'm lost. Where is my house? Can you take me to my home? God doesn't need to speak like that. These are extreme examples to show that we have to read the Quran according to its context. Not the context of one particular subject. According to the context of the Quran. The problem is, what is the context of the Quran? How are we going to define the context of the Quran? In this class, we emphatically mentioned that the Quran is the speech of the creator of everybody, every human being, and in order to provide the guidance for human questions, human inquiries. We always say this, and we will keep saying it. It's extremely important. Another aspect of the context of the Quran is, how are we going to see the Quran, in which context, so that we will interpret, yes, it is a guidance for human being, in which perspective he is going to guide. How the Quran itself says that this is the speech of God, but in which perspective God is speaking to human beings, as a what? As far as the Quran itself describes it. That's why we use the word God here, because by definition, Quran says, I am the word of God. Okay, let's see if you are the word of God. And the speech, I'm going to give you the guidance in the form of verbal explanations to your human inquiry, to your human questions, and you have to take notice of this guidance under the condition, or within the condition of a God describes himself as what? primarily. Now, this is the main question today. Sorry?
I was going to say the all-knowing.
The Quran doesn't say this primarily. Although Quran says, I am the all-knowing one, of course, then we have to see whether he is the all-knowing one and confirm it that he is the all-knowing one under the witnessing of what? Under the witnessing, who is the all-knowing one? How do we know? Sorry? The universe. Now the Quran says, listen to me as the speaker in the Quran, as the creator of universe and everything in it. That is very important now. Now, another problem that we are facing within the wisdom community, not nowadays, for centuries, not necessarily the every scholar followed the same thing, not at all. No, some scholars. And what we usually talk about, or what we usually hear, Quran is inimitable. It is a miraculous speech. Have you heard that no one can produce a like of the Quran? Did you hear this? Did you hear this? Who didn't hear this? But Quran says Ar-Rahman, one verse. I say Ar-Rahman. Quran says Alam Tara. I say Alam Tara. Every Arab says Alam Tara. What aspect of the Quran is inimitable? They say eloquence of the Quran is inimitable, but not everywhere. Especially in the Medinian verses, eloquence is not primarily taking place. In the Meccan verses, yeah. But you can say, I can say like this as well. I can describe the way within other language, etc. Is it the challenge of the Quran? That is the second problem that we are going to deal today with. Second problem, where the Quran is inimitable. Right? How the Quran presents itself that I am inimitable. I am miraculous. And my explanations are miraculous. My guidance is miraculous. How? How are we going to say it? Let's do this challenging question and, of course, refresh our mind, if necessary, change our perspective, which I did change my perspective, not only refreshing the mind. Now, can anybody read the first verse?
أم يقولون تقوله بل لا يؤمنون.
Yeah. Look, now we have to be very careful now. The English.
Or do they say he himself has composed this message? Surely they are not willing to believe.
Now, what does it mean? Taqawwalahu means, to compose yourself, or make up yourself. Somebody has made it up. Yeah. And usually we hear that, especially from the Orientalists. They say that Muhammad was a very clever man, very, very smart man, they say. He was clever, but to be a clever is not the reason to become a prophet or to be employed as a messenger. No, it is not enough. But that's what they say. But he knew that. He knew that. If he spoke on behalf of God, it would be more effective. Right? So let's compose everything accordingly I know the needs of the society, and I will speak as if God's it's speaking and conveying the message to them. Of course, it has many, many fallacies in it. If someone is that tricky, dishonest, he wouldn't be really sacrificing his life until he dies for a trick that he himself, or this a false that he himself made it up. That's impossible. Now, let's say a king may say, I am half human being, half God-inspired man, and get the portion from the income and live in a palace. We understand that it's for his benefit. In the case of the Prophet Muhammad or the other prophets, we see that, we hear that they sacrificed their life for the message that they brought and never gave in, never changed, and never took any benefit out of it. And sacrificed their life for the sake of the message. But that is one side of it. But psychologically, if you speak to a man saying that this is my idea, is different from saying that I am a professor. Yeah? That's my specialty. I have worked on it for 30 years. And that is my conclusion. You take it more serious, don't you? Wouldn't you? Now, if a man says this is what God said, it is influential. That's psychologically more effective. We know that. But it doesn't really correspond to reality that the messengers are behaving or were behaving in their life. But anyway, of course, Quran itself puts this challenge into its own language. Says that then, do they say that he himself, a person himself, composed this message, the Quran? That's what the Quran itself says. And, oh man, they are not really willing to believe. That they are making up an excuse not to believe. Oh, how do we know? Yeah? How do we know that they are making up an excuse rather than really seriously they think so? But the Quran's reply is, anybody? In the second verse, 34.
فليأتوا بحديث مثله إن كانوا صادقين.
Now, the Quran says, as we always hear, if they are sincere, consistent in their claim, okay. This translation.
Then let them produce a discourse like it if they speak the truth.
Now, produce a discourse like this. Now, if we say that the discourse like this means only literally eloquence, right? Then someone say, yeah, I can try, right? No, they did, but no one really took it seriously historically. But someone may say, yeah, why not? For example, the people like us reading the Quran from English translation, I say, I can say this kind of language, right? We don't feel that much amazed with the language structure, eloquence of the language, because we don't know. But the Quran says, they say that a person has composed this message. Let them produce a discourse, a composition like this one. But in which sense? Language-wise? Eloquence-wise? They may have some proportion, they may have some elements of truth. Eloquence-wise, they couldn't historically bring something like the Quran or sounds like the Quran, equivalent to the Quran speech. Historically, this didn't happen, couldn't happen, because no one could really succeed it. But the main reason is not the language. The Quran doesn't say so. Have you heard this? I don't think so. Well, what the Quran says then, look, immediately afterwards, what verse follows?
أم خلقوا من غير شيء أم هم الخالقون.
The meaning, read.
Were they created by nothing, or were they themselves the creators?
What has it to do with the context? Are you puzzled? Huh? What is it to do with the context? Now, let me go over it again. We have to be careful. One is, if they say that a person has composed this message, they say this in order not to believe in it. Yeah, it's an excuse. Okay. Okay, then, let them produce a discourse like this one. What are you expecting to follow? It says, were they created by nothing? What does it mean? What has it to do with the argument? Anybody? Does it strike your attention as well?
So the discourse would have to be about existence, what created them. The people that are trying to produce a discourse like this would have to be talking about how they were created or how they came into existence.
Yeah. Why? Because the main, this is very important, the main message of the Quran is based on who or what is the creator of the universe. Is there a creator? Should there be a creator or not? In this context, you cannot bring another argument against what the Quran brings to you. Do you understand this? This is very important. I don't know. No. Eloquence is one side. I'm not saying eloquence is not important. No, it is important. But main argument that the Quran presents is its message. What the Quran says, the message is, there is a creator, everything is created by this creator, and there is nothing in the universe which is not created by something else. Yeah, أم خلقوا من غير شيء. It means, did they come into existence by themselves? Rather than a conscious cause willed them to exist. This is the message that the Quran brings, and no one ever can challenge this message. That is why the Quran is not imitable in his message. Primarily in his message, no one can come up either with an equal message or better than this. Do you understand? It is very new for me. It is very new. So, inimitability of the Quran is based on its Primarily it is message. This is the message that the Quran brings to you, right? No one can challenge this message. Secondarily, this eloquence of this presentation of this message. Secondarily. But unfortunately, what we did, we emphasized the reason is historical. We emphasized on the eloquence of the Quran rather than the context of the Quran. Now, did you understand why the context of the Quran is important? Right? Primarily, context means the main message of the Quran. Right? Now, if we don't get this, please let me know. If you are not sure about it, you cannot argue the eloquence of the Quran to a person who has no idea about Arabic language, Arabic eloquence, maybe Arabic original language of the Quran. How can you argue that? Saying that no one can the Quran? He will say, come on, why not? It's a language. I can say another way. Argue this to a layman, which I don't know, 99.9% of the people are laymen, maybe more. Maybe more. You cannot argue the eloquence of the Quran. If someone comes to you and say, you cannot challenge the eloquence of the Quran, you say, oh, I'm not expert on eloquence, and it is not my main concern. My main concern is what? My main concern is, how should I explain my being in this world? How should I explain my existence in this world? How should I give or attach meaning to my existence in this world? Do you understand? Then you can argue with everybody. You don't have to go into Arabic balagha, eloquence. Do you understand? You and I cannot really argue saying that Quran is inevitable because I cannot understand the balagha of the Quran. It's not my expertise. And I don't think there is, especially in the 20th, 21st century, there is even one person who is expert on the balagha of the Quran. It is very challenging. So the Quran is based on Quran has based its claim on something which requires extremely difficult profession. It's not practical. Do you understand? It's not practical. You cannot argue with yourself, or you cannot argue with the people around you who are totally alien to Arabic balagha. Even you cannot argue this with Arabic native speakers. Their Arabic native speakers. Now the Arabic language they use is totally corrupt. Nothing to do with Quranic language. You are a native Arabic speaker. Can you understand the Quran at home in its balagha or eloquence? Impossible. Even you may think that's the simplest verse in the Quran. I can understand. I can challenge you. You don't. Really, with your daily this present-day Arabic language. So it is not practical to say that the Quran is inimitable. No one can imitate the Quran because of its balagha. It is not practical. But the Quran says, if you want to produce a likeness of the Quran, first, you have to explain, is there anything in the universe which is created by a conscious, powerful, potent creator? You cannot challenge this idea. You cannot come up with a better explanation of the creation. Do you understand? Better than what the Quran presents to you. Do you understand? That is inevitable. inimitable. That is inimitable. No one can ever come with an explanation of the existence of the universe equal or better than the Qur'an's presentation of the explanation of the existence. That is why it is not surprising for me. Let's read the whole sequence of the verses now, right? Somebody, would you like to read verse 33, 34, and going to 35?
Or do
Slowly, so that we can digest.
Or
Yeah.
do they say he himself has composed this message?
He means amen. Yeah, because Muhammad, the Prophet Muhammad was the first man who said, this is the message from God. That's what people say he means Muhammad, but amen for us, we haven't seen Muhammad. So a man has composed this message.
Surely they are not willing to believe.
Believe in what? Surely they are not willing to believe. Believe in what?
The message.
Sorry?
The message.
What is the message? What is the main message of the Quran?
The creator of
The
the
creator.
universe.
Sorry?
How do you explain the existence of the universe, including your own being?
How do you explain the existence of the things around you? Quran wants to teach you, this is the way to explain the existence of the universe. This is the message. They don't want to believe what the Quran teaches you. Got it? Not necessarily they don't want to believe in the Quran. What do you mean by believing in the Quran? Is pointless. The main message of the Quran, they don't want to believe in the main message of the Quran, which is the creator. The second one is the life. This universe is transient. When you read the whole Quran, you will say that the creator and this universe is transient. It means there will be another type of creation. So they don't want to believe in this. That's why they say a person has composed the message. It's a human-made thing. And the Quran says, now, challenges now.
Then let them then produce a discourse like it, if they speak the truth.
If they speak the truth, means if they are sincere, if they are consistent within themselves, let them bring up another interpretation of the existence than the Quran produces to you. That is the challenge. Samir, did you get it? You wanted to ask something. I said, let's complete the subject and then open up to the questions. You cannot come up with another. It means you cannot come up with an idea which says this one. Follow the yeah.
Next.
Now the following verse says,
Were they created by nothing, or were they themselves the creators?
now first, they means maybe human beings, maybe things. Anything exists in the universe. Yeah, we can say anything in the universe. Was anything in the universe created by nothing? It means created by itself. Can anybody produce any evidence, any sign, anything to show that the things exist by themselves? Does it make sense? The things exist by themselves. So gave existence to themselves, it's contradictory. It's obvious, it's contradictory. Something doesn't exist, but gave existence to itself. But it doesn't exist. So human mind radically questions, every human mind radically questions, what is the source of existence of the things? That's what we are looking for here. And can anyone show any evidence that the things came into existence by nothing?
No.
I have a question.
So we're talking about, this says, were they created by nothing or were they themselves the creators? So were they themselves the creators? Wouldn't that be more of them creating by themselves versus created by nothing? May be distinguishing something different than creating by themselves.
Yeah, we didn't go into the second part of the verse. It means this, clarifying what does the first part of the verse says. Were they created by nothing? It means are the things themselves are creators? Show me one thing in the world who gives existence to itself or to another thing. Show me one thing. Gives existence. Gives existence. Look, not employed by the creator to function a duty. A typical example is the parts of the machine or the parts of this building. Are they the creators of the building? Or there is a builder, put them there in order to make the building. It is the order, we always say this, it is the order of the creator, right? It is the order of the creator, but they are not the creators. This is the main inimitable aspect of the Quran. No one can ever show that. No one can ever show that anything in the universe has the quality to give existence to another thing. Right? This people made up stories that they found the God particle was ridiculous. That is a particle who is, let's say, playing, not playing even, who's employed in the main structure of the creation, but it doesn't give existence to itself. It has no quality to give existence to itself, and it needs to be created. Yep. And it is obvious that it cannot give existence to anything else, neither to itself. Just, I mean, don't take up this popular language by the scientists just to make up stories, interpretations. But no one can prove it. That is the message of the Quran, mainly based on this idea, and no one can ever imitate or challenge this message. This unchallengeable aspect of the Quran is primarily this, right? The last verse, I think we understood something. Okay. Yeah? Let's read the Arabic one first.
أم خلقوا السماوات والأرض بل لا يوقنون.
No.
Did they create the heavens and the earth? Surely they are not certain.
Yeah. So you see, all the argument followed that you cannot produce a message like the Quran. All the argument followed this about what? Creation. How do you explain the creation? So we have to understand that The inimitability of the Quran is primarily based on how to explain the creation. No one can bring a better interpretation, explanation of the creation than the Quran. Satisfied? Right? So balagha is not, or eloquence is not practical. This is very practical. When you read the Quran now, what is the context of the Quran? We started with the context, yeah? What is the context of the Quran? If you read anything in the Quran, in which context you are going to put this news, so analyze this news according to the context. What is the main context of the Quran? Main context of the Quran. Main context of the Quran. What does the Quran itself says? Nothing can be the creator. Nothing can be the creator. Everything needs a creator in the universe. So the creator is speaking to you now. The creator who created your body, your human qualities, your emotions, your feelings, your rationality, your intellectuality, whatever you call them, your spirit, whatever you call them. Everything is created by the one who created the whole universe. There is no creator in the universe. There is nothing who has the power to give existence to anything else. Now, when you read the verse, sentence of the Quran, the first thing you will bring in mind is put this news into the context of the Quran. The creator of the universe is speaking. So analyze everything from creation perspective. You understand? If you take a commentary on the Quran, on the verses of the Quran, and this commentator is not analyzing the verse of the Quran, basing his argument and the explanations on the explanation, on the basis of this purpose of the Quran, main context of the Quran, what he has to do, go back into history, tell us stories. You understand? That's why volumes of the books narrate all Israeliyat to us, made up stories. And we say that we understood the Quran, we learned. You learned nothing. You learned story. You learned history, not the message of the Quran. Do you understand why the context is extremely important? Yeah. Yeah. This is amazing. I said, before going into any further understanding of the Quran, we have to learn this first. What is the context of the Quran, why the Quran is inimitable? Why? Practically. All right?
Yes.
Now, another. The same message, but from another perspective. Let's read it.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ma anzalna alayka al-Qur'ana litashqa.
Thank you. Now, the translation.
We have not set down the Quran upon you to cause you distress.
What does it mean? What do you understand from it?
that the truth or the message has not been revealed to me or has not been made observable to me with the intention of causing distress.
Give me an example.
So if I see a tree which turns into, like, goes from green into is bad condition, so like during the winters, I can say that sense of like life getting out of it or the beauty going away from it, and I can be distressed about it. But that is not, that line, that verse is claiming that is not the intention of that particular moment to reveal itself to me. So the intention is different. It's not.
What is that? What is the intention? You gave a negative example. Right. Given now causing you distress. So the message, the Quran says, look, I haven't sent this message to you to cause you distress. What makes you distress?
I think as a conscious human being, you are on a constant struggle to find for yourself what makes you happy and whatever that you want in your life. That is Quran serves to say in this sentence that whatever that you're seeking according to your human intellect, or whatever that you are communicating with yourself in your life, is not antagonistic or opposite to what the Quran is saying.
No, yeah, antagonistic.
Or
opposite your nature.
Yes.
Excellent point. Let's develop it. Quran says, I'm not going to cause you distress. It means nothing will be, none of the message that I am presenting to you will be antagonistic to your human nature. Right? Do you understand? There should be no contradiction between what the Quran says and what your human instincts, human qualities say. If there is a clash, then you will be in distress. For example, I see that example. The sunlight is really giving life to things. If I see that, and the Quran says, no, sunlight has no effect. Right? Quran says this. Sunlight is a servant employed by me. It has no independent will, no independent existence. It has to do what I have given or created the sun for a purpose. It has to obey me. And you say, no, it is really giving life. It is independent acting. It causes a distress. It is contradicting. So there should be no contradiction between you as a human being and what the message that I'm presenting to you. Rather than saying that, Quran says, I prescribed you 5 daily prayer and it shouldn't you cause distress. But in the morning, it's very difficult to wake up. Do you understand? And in the long, hot summer days, fasting is really kind of torture. No. It is not the main message of the Quran. Don't reduce it to your practical thing. The main source of distress and comfort is somebody says, for example, your life is nothing. Yeah. You are worth nothing. You live in this world just like a worm, accidental being. What do you think? What do you think? Where is human honor? That I want to feel precious. I want to feel an honorable being. But if someone says, no, 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 you are an accident, the result of an accident happened to be like this. Isn't that a sort of main human distress? Rather than not eating or drinking for 2 or 3 hours, or I don't know, being hungry for 1 or 2 days. It's nothing to do with human distress, really. It is practical. But the main distress is theoretical. Main distress is existential. We have to understand that. If you think that your being, your existence is worth the whole universe, right? You are the addressee. You are the guest of the creator of the whole universe. But you are hungry now. Does it really matter? Is it a real human concern? 2 hours later you will eat. Don't worry, because you are accustomed to eating every now and then. Now, if you see that you are not giving the water right now, because your accustomed way of is disturbed, it is not human distress. This is just the disturbance of your habit. It is not human distress. Qur'an doesn't cause any contradiction. As far as human existential questions are concerned, it gives the most matching, most appropriate answer to human existential questions. That's what the Qur'an challenges. Don't bother about, I have some properties and God asks me to give away some of them to charity. No, no. Your misunderstanding, your misconceptions say that when I give some of my properties to charity for just to take care of some poor people, in fact, you feel happy. Yeah. While you are giving the property, it is difficult, but ultimately you say, oh, the man was really needy. But the problem is this. Quran keeps speaking about ta'amul miskin. Yeah? It'amul miskin. It'amul miskin. It means feeding the destitute people. But we don't feed the destitute people. We feed rich people. Maybe. I'm not speaking about you, man. we feed people who are overweight, complaining, how can I get out of this weight? That is why we don't feel the pleasure, the happiness in feeding the miskin, destitute people. That's why we don't feel it. So we got used to anytime thoughtlessly eating, drinking. Every time you see people in their hand, what? A cup of tea or coffee like this, and walking, go on the bus, streets, and workplace. There is something, definitely there is something to eat and drink. And suddenly you stop because of the command that we hear in the Quran, you shouldn't eat for a certain period of time during the day. Our habit is destroyed. Artificially, we feel distressed. Nothing to do with it. Existential distress is most important. Existential distress is the essential distress. Right? Somebody insults you. What do? You can never forget it. Yeah. You may say that I'm thirsty for the moment, that 2 hours later I will drink my water. That's okay. It is easy to overcome. But existential distress, for example, if you say that you are going to be perished absolutely eternally when you die, what do you think? Your life is meaningless. What do you think? You are trying to get to fulfill, to accomplish some desires, some plans, but you know that you are going to lose it anyways. What is the meaning of struggle in this world? Now, Qur'an's news never, ever causes stress for any human being, any human inquiry, not the artificial things, yeah? Accustomed way. So we have to understand that the Qur'an never causes contradiction as far as human existential concerns are concerned. Right? Get it?
Yes.
Now we have to understand the Qur'an really within its own context. Now the following verse.
Sorry.
Yes.
إلا تذكرة لمن يخشى.
Now, but Quran is the translation.
But only as a reminder for someone who acts cautiously.
Now, yakhsha means they say fear of God, or I don't know. This kind of acts cautiously means is afraid of making a mistake, afraid of misinterpreting its existence. Right? He is very cautious not to make a mistake in interpreting his being. Now, it is a reminder. It means gives guidance not to make a mistake in your interpretation of your existence, your being, not to make a mistake in your understanding of your human qualities. Right? Why? What am I going to do with them? Human qualities. So it is perfectly matching to your human nature. Right? If you ever bother about your reality, but if you never think about it, and I don't know whether you believe in Quran or not, matters or not, it doesn't matter really. If you never are concerned with your existential problems, why are you reading the Quran? I don't understand. Why are you saying I'm a Muslim or non-Muslim? It's pointless because you have no trouble in your own existence, right? Because the Quran doesn't establish a culture. Quran is not there to teach you, what to eat, what not to eat, or something like that. Really, yeah. So Quran doesn't give you an identity which requires only a social culture, social identity. Quran is the main concern of the Quran is to teach you your real existence, who you are, what you are. Why are you here? Right? So if you are cautious about your existence, then read the Quran as a guide to explain your existence. And this explanation will never contradict your human qualities. Right? Do you understand now? Does it make sense?
Yes.
No. You can say, for example, if a person says, oh, do you believe in God? And which religion you follow? I say, does it really matter? Which religion I follow? What do you mean by God? Why bother about God? Huh? Where did you get this idea of God? I will never answer this man. Define what do you mean by God? What do you mean by religion? Define it. Because most probably, when they speak about God, what they mean by the people who say, I believe in God, their claim, that's what they reject. Right? Their claim they reject. The believers claim they reject. When they say, which religion you follow, it means it is a sociological phenomenon they are talking about. It means, are you from Iraq? Are you from Saudi Arabia? Are you from Pakistan, India, or Bangladesh? It means it's nothing to do with religion. So never try to give answer to these kind of questions, but ask them or call them, remind them. Believe in God or religion, everything. They are just social phenomena. How do you explain your existence? What do you think you are in this world? Right? So it means liman yakhsha, not to make a mistake in their explanation of their own existence, their purpose of their life, the purpose of their life. So call them to the main problem. Never argue about, and in Christianity they believe such and such, in Islam we don't believe that. It is meaningless to me, really pointless. So come there to be cautious. Now look at the last verse.
تنزيلا من خلق الأرض والسماوات العلى.
Now, just a minute. What were we talking about? We sent down the Quran, yeah, not to cause any stress, yeah, any contradiction, so that you will be, I am here for nothing. I don't know why. Yeah. I don't know how I happen to be here, and I don't know what will happen to me. Why I should bother about making a profession and do some sort of actions? Why? Because I'm going to perish forever. No, that says, no. I am giving you the guidance that you will be fully satisfied with your existence. Right? Now, if you are concerned with these fundamental existential problems, if you are not concerned with your fundamental existential problems, but rather without the, look, be careful with my language, without the fundamental existential questions, all the rules introduced in the Quran do not make any sense. Do you understand this?
Yes.
All the practical rules, do this, don't do that, or you have to do this, you don't eat, for example, bacon, or why should I? If something was wrong with it, why did you create it from the beginning? Pointless, right? You have to do this, you have to fast during Ramadan. Why? Why should I? I should enjoy myself. I want to eat. I want to drink water. Look, without going back to the root, which is the existential question, why are you here on earth? How come that you exist? What is the purpose of your existence? What is expected of your existence? Everything which is said commandments of the Quran is, to me, pointless to talk about. In Islam, the man can beat up the woman. What's the existential question there? Huh? First, establish the existential basis for your existence. Explain it accordingly, within this context, you can understand how the social life is constructed and how we should really understand this kind of verses within the context, not necessarily within the context of the specific event. If there is a dispute between men and women or something, it's a specific event. The context of the Quran is, who is your creator? Who are you in this world? Who are you? Why are you here? Why are you here? How come that you exist? Accordingly, you have to understand this kind of verses within the context of the Quran. Now,
it is a revelation from him who has created the earth and the lofty heavens.
it is a revelation from him who has created the earth and the lofty heavens. Now, what does it mean? What do you understand from it? Now, it is not to cause a distress, and it is a reminder, guidance, if you take cautious of your reality, right? And then concludes, somebody raised it, and then concludes, it is a revelation from him. Look, the Quran is a revelation from him who has created the earth and the lofty heavens. It means this is a revelation to be understood, to be interpreted, to be analyzed as a guidance from the creator of the earth and the heavens. It means everything, right? You understand now the context again? And the Quran, how to be understood, from which perspective it should be understood, where the Quran is not imitable, you cannot really say, because it is everything. The message of the Quran must be understood as a message from the creator of the heavens and earth. It means everything, including yourself, including your feelings. So if you are comfortable about this aspect of the creation, that it has an absolute creator, it is an absolute creator, he is your creator, and this creator is speaking to you, then you have to interpret every verse from this perspective, the creator's perspective, so that you will say, who am I? Why am I here? If you don't define your existence in the universe, if you don't have an idea about the source of your existence within the universe, what do? You cannot understand the Quran. Because you wouldn't be able to read the Quran within its own context. Now, your question or comment.
Practically said what I was thinking. There's a revelation from him who has created the earth and the lofty heavens. It's sort of like a comfort, right? Like, if you're cautious and you look at the universe, you see that the management is done really well, right? Like, everything has its place, everything's in its own order, everything's being run very well. It's like, if the one who created the heavens and the earth, and you see it's running very well, it's also created me and my needs and all the things that fulfills the needs. It's like, what do I got to worry about? It's just a comforting idea.
Yeah. First of all, that's a good comment. Thank you very much. rather than the first step is, rather than the perfect administration of the universe, the first step is, this is the second step. The first step is,
The existence of it.
sorry?
The existence of it.
The existence of it. First, if we try to base our argument on the very well arrangement, administration of the universe, we may have some partial problems. Everything is well arranged, but at the end I die. Everything is perishable. Which kind of arrangement, better or the best administration, gives me life, lets me experience the pleasure of youth and all the opportunities, at the end, kills me. Have you thought about it? At the end, kills me. Which kind of administration is it? For example, the building is perfectly made, and the architect says, okay, have you seen what I've done? Huh? Perfect. All right? You see, I can do it perfect. I am the best architect. Okay, destroy the building. What? Do you understand? It's a crazy thing that we are experiencing here. Every moment, the universe is coming into existence and is taking away from existence. Right? Coming into existence and is taking away from existence. What is the main point here? The main point, although what you said is correct, main point is, how come that they are brought into existence? Number one. Of course, they are coming into existence and being taken away from existence is a way of teaching something. But if you ignore existence, what happens? Okay, everything is perfectly arranged. Yeah. For example, a famous philosopher gives this example. Forget about the names and philosophy, whatever. Somebody invites you and gives you the nice food, gives you a very good prepared, well-prepared bedroom, bathroom, kitchen. 1 week later, he said, okay, come. Slaughters you. What do you do? What do you do? Yeah? If you don't think about existence, foundation, and talk about the order, Qur'an says, always, it is a revelation from him who has created the earth and the heavens. It means everything. So first we have to look at the matter from creation perspective. And then try to understand, why am I created? And at the end, why am I taken away from creation? And then it says, no, we have to understand, if you concentrate on your creation, be careful there, you have to acknowledge the source of your existence, who is the creator. Do you understand? And if you acknowledge who is the creator, so your relationship with the creator is based on what? He is the creator. You are the one who is given existence to acknowledge who your creator is. Now the relationship is based on what? Your existence. Right? So whatever the feelings you have, the first thing you have to take into consideration is, what is the source of existence of this feeling? The first thing. For example, if you feel that something is happening, for example, do you like death, being killed? Would you like somebody to kill you now?
No.
No. Okay. What is the source of existence of this feeling? What is the purpose of it? Existence. Existence. Do you understand? If you miss the existence, you miss everything. You have to start from it. It's not the only thing, but you have to start from the existence. That's why Quran keeps saying that I am the creator, I am the creator. There is no other creator. Now, let's come to the connection now between the revelation from the one who has created the universe. What does it mean? Come on, let's conclude today's discussion with this. This revelation is from the one who has created everything. Well, let's say earth and who has created everything. What does it mean?
It means when you're questioning creation, right? When you have these existential questions, questioning the existence of everything, including your own being. So answers come. Answers come when you...
Answers to what?
Answers to your questions.
To your?
Existential questions.
Existential questions come?
In the form of revelation.
From the one who created them. From the one who created your questions. You got it? So, if the Quran is by definition answer to your questions, you have to read the Quran as the one who, as the guidance from the one who created your questions, your capacity to ask questions. So any interpretation of the Quran, any commentary on the Quran, which is not based on the creation side of the problem, is wrong. Doesn't satisfy. That's why when you read quite a lot of interpretations of the Quran, you say, you have to have faith. And how can I give it? I'm not satisfied. No, you have to believe. You are a Muslim. You are a believer. A believer accepts what God says. Doesn't make sense. You say, I'm a believer. Why? Why should I be a believer? Right? Quran doesn't make sense. If you don't read the Quran within its own context, you cannot really get a satisfactory answer to your questions, concerns at all. That's why people keep reading the Quran during Ramadan, after Ramadan, worshipping the world. Why? Because it is not satisfied. It's not substantial. It's not really consistent. It doesn't work. Concentrate on the action. When it comes to believe, I'm a believer, I'm a believer. What do you mean? You are a believer. Why do you believe? You must be satisfied with your belief first and then act accordingly. So let's not cheat ourselves, saying that we are believers and we have to trust our heart or our spirit or soul. Forget about this, how do you say, fantastic language. Be realistic. It is a revelation from Him who has created the world. It means you have to read the revelation in terms of the main message of the Quran, main context of the Quran, which is how you explain the existence. You're tired? Okay, you can stop. How you explain the existence. If you don't bother about looking for an explanation of the existence, don't bother about reading the Quran or defending the Quran or becoming a Muslim or doing something Islamic. So we have to be realistic. Okay. Now, soon people are having a big event. Soon they will come and we won't be able to get out. So let's run away before they come out. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana. Innaka antal alimul hakim. Wa akhiru da'wahum alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Bihurmati sirri surat al-Fatiha. These are revolutionary for me. Yeah. These are revolutionary. Without establishing these foundations, you cannot understand the Quran. But what you do, you just reinforce your prejudice, your self-claim. Okay. Thank you. Inshallah, I'll see you next Thursday. Inshallah. Wassalam.